Welcome in MNF IRE. We are literally fully live, so let's hope this all works to plan. Welcome in, gentlemen. Colum, Brian, Mark, lads, a pleasure to have you on this lovely, lovely Monday evening. Welcome in, gentlemen.
How's it going? It's Michael. It's been a long evening for us. We didn't get to go to bed happy like the two gentlemen on our right.
Yeah, I knew it was coming, guys. I said it. I said that defense would slow down Wilson, but not only did we slow him down, we dominated. So yeah, it's a fantastic result. Probably the best result we've had in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and clearly I just have to pick against the Pats every week because their wins are becoming bigger and bigger. I didn't see a 45-0 shellac in the Chargers coming, but I did enjoy it immensely, and long may it continue.
Well, talking there really quickly, lads, about Brian. Brian, a very happy man last night. His mediocre New York Giants team have reached the depths of epitome. A very happy man this morning, Brian, I think one must say. And look, I'm not just picking on you. I'm not just picking on you. And I know I've lost your trust now. Here was me this morning, barely being able to get a frank and honest coffee after sitting up to 4:35 in the morning and watching the Broncos lose to the Chiefs. Let's just jump around, lads, 2 seconds on some of these games last night. And yes, Brian, we are going to jump on the Giants train. The Giants, while I was sleeping last night, stunned the Seahawks. Is it right? I think, Brian, I think we're going to have to start with you. Is it right to say that they did stun them? I mean, you must be stunned yourself still, 24 hours on.
Pleasantly surprised, but not stunned, because I did touch on Saturday that I felt, I'm going to repeat myself, but I felt our defense has done really well this season, and it just hasn't got the credit it's deserved, because obviously we've lost a number of games, but you can see week on week it's been improving. And I felt, and I said it on Saturday, that I didn't think that they'd give us the slacking that Mark likes to call out, but I felt that we'd stay in the game predominantly because of the defense. And Carroll, after the game, was asked what happened to his offense. He said he didn't know. Well, I know. 5 sacks, 1 interception, 1 turnover. Metcalf held for 80 yards. It was a really good performance. And then offensively, look, we weren't great, but we did enough. 2 really good drives in the second half. From Colt McCoy, who looked very nervous and exposed in the first half, but gradually he got the confidence going. And the run game again, which is literally turned itself on its head, came out in the second half. 2 great drives, and the offensive line again stood up. And some of the players that have been brought in from the practice squad are really delivering. A guy who, by the name of Lolas, who I never even heard of him until 2 weeks ago, came in last week off the practice squad, an interception, and then he recovers a fumble when Wilson fumbled the snap. So look, it's a very good win. 4 wins in a row, and we have the Arizona Cardinals coming up. So
that's easy next week. Colum, are the Giants going to the Super Bowl again?
Well, Brian gave us his theory early on that it could be their year. I didn't think that they would win last night, but I was kinder to the Giants than either of you two gentlemen above. I said Joe Judge has done quite a job there. Look, he's got them really playing for him. You can see that. I expected them to play tough. They certainly did. They gave Russell Wilson a huge fright, and Williams was just fantastic. He was all over Wilson, and I'm obviously pleased for Brian. Pleased that Pete Carroll takes another loss. It was interesting, I suppose, to see. We expected the Seahawks to really kind of, their running game looked like it was back. We were expecting big things from Metcalf after the game last week. But look, kudos to the Giants. They put in a really, really solid performance, and it's in their hands now in terms of that NFC East.
Just one more quick point. Sorry, Michael. Just one quick point. When we were discussing Metcalf on Saturday, and you all felt that he would go off and wouldn't have a great game. What I felt I missed the trick on Saturday was the call of how well Bradbury's done, the free agent that came in from Carolina. He's been a standout cornerback this year. He wasn't the the highest ranked cornerback in free agency. I think that was Byron Jones that went from Cowboys to Miami, but he certainly looks like he's been the best free agency pickup in terms of cornerbacks this year. He's like locked down now. Players aren't doing well against him.
Well, Mark, just before I bring you in, man, I'd be begrudged not to say this. First of all, we are in partnership with Pundit Arena. So welcome to everybody on the Pundit Arena Twitter and Facebook page that are watching this live. We are here right now in Ireland, both north and south. If you want to get some questions in, if you've never watched the NFL before, please feel free to let us know. Mark, the quote of the season from you, my friend, wasn't it not even Jesus Christ himself could help the Giants win against Seattle, or what was it?
Yeah, I think it was. It doesn't matter if Daniel Jones was playing, Eli Manning was playing, or Jesus Christ himself was playing quarterback. They're not beating the Seahawks. Brian, my friend, I must lie prostrate at your feet and beg for forgiveness. Look, I think Brian sums up the game really well. They got the Wayne train, Wayne Gallman, running very well, and obviously providing that spark on offense that hadn't been seen. The Seattle offense has been spluttering over the last few weeks, actually. I mean, they started so hot that Russell Wilson was probably maybe quarter season MVP, maybe even half season MVP. But they've definitely been falling apart a little bit. But that being said, all credit to the Giants. Like, it wasn't the Seahawks failed, it was the Giants stopped them. And huge credit to their defense, huge credit to them for pulling out a game. I think it's always enjoyable when an underdog, and let's be fair, they were the biggest underdog going into this weekend. I mean, maybe the Eagles versus the Packers as well. But when an underdog wins the game, not that the favourites given it away or made mistakes and thrown it away with stupid plays. And that's exactly what the Giants did. In fairness, guys, the next biggest shock for me was probably how competitive the Broncos were against the Chiefs, which I expected to be a lot further apart. So I didn't get those games. I did get the Browns winning and pretty much every other game picked. But yes, the Giants and definitely slipped me by.
Let's jump on that Broncos game 2 seconds, lads, because at one point I was very close. Very close, boys. It could have been a sick day in work. Oh, here was it, Colum. 22-16 to Kansas City, and the Broncos had the ball with 1 minute to go, and people were starting to get nervous. But unfortunately, as I opened this bottle, it just didn't work, boys. It just didn't work. But the Broncos really did shut a lot of people up. Now, I don't know if you boys watched it live, but Colum, the start of the show was like, a homage at the start of the Eurovision to Sweden or something for Patrick Mahomes. What was going on there? Like,
that was quite something to watch. That it was as if he had ascended upon the throne, and they were anointing him. Look, I am kind of interested to hear Brian and Mark on this because obviously as Broncos fans, we're disappointed in the result. I think for the Broncos, it answered a lot of questions, but it opens even more in terms of Drew Lock, and is he the future of this franchise, and will the Broncos ever be able to cover a tight end?
Just on the Chiefs, like, we're so used to them being explosive and winning games and putting up 30, 40 points. And when you think of Mahomes and you think of their offense, you just expect high-scoring games. But this season, like we touched on, they haven't played well in a lot of games, but they have that winning mentality now, and they've kind of got over the hump in terms of winning the Super Bowl, and they're getting these games won. They're digging out the wins. Last night they weren't overly impressive. I thought the Broncos played very well. It kind of played out to a certain extent the way I thought it would. Like I said on the show at the weekend, I felt the Broncos would be competitive and stay in the game till the fourth quarter. I did think the Chiefs would win by a higher margin, but they did enough in the end, and it's unfortunate for your guys. But I do think I was very high on Drew Lock at the start of the season, as Mark knows well, and I got a bit of slagging over it, and I still think he's a good quarterback. I just think he can be a bit indecisive at times, and I think, but that comes with a young age. I think he will improve. I certainly wouldn't be giving up on him in the long term.
I think Brian's line at the start of the season, just because we're bringing up old lines that come back to haunt you, was around the Broncos making the wild card and Drew Lock being a serious quarterback. Benjamin Franklin said there's nothing certain in life except death and taxes. I think I might add Drew Lock not performing well enough on a big stage right up there. He's had one quarter. I mean, this is trying to be a bit impartial, guys. He's had one quarter this season, which is the final quarter of that Chargers game where he was lights out. The rest of the season, I'll be honest, from a a neutral-ish fan looking on, you don't see what you want to see in your first-round pick. You don't see that command you get from a Justin Herbert. You don't see the flashes of brilliance you see from a Kyler Murray or a Tua. What is he then? John Elway has been a woeful quarterback evaluator, other than Peyton Manning, which was a bit of a non sequitur. And that's coming back to bite the Broncos time and time again. Great performance by Lindsay. Great play by the Broncos defense. They called it out on Sunday Night Football, the kind of soft shell they were playing to control a lot of what Kansas City was trying to do. And they deservedly were running that game. But just not enough, and not the right player there to make enough plays for you, in my opinion.
22 points they were held to, Brian. 22 points the Chiefs only scored at home on Sunday Night Football. The reigning Super Bowl champions, with the greatest quarterback ever, apparently, only scored 22 points against a 4-7 Denver Broncos team.
Just to jump back to the Drew Lock situation, it doesn't help. I don't think you can give a proper evaluation of him, because he missed quite a piece of last season, and he was out injured very early in this season. So where do you lie? I'd imagine the next few games, by and large, obviously, because the fact the likelihood you aren't going to go to the playoffs, it's all about evaluating. Is Drew Lock the answer in the long term? Because once we talk about Justin Fields and we talk about Trevor Lawrence in the draft, there is other quarterbacks potentially coming out, and you don't necessarily have to be drafting a quarterback in the top 5 to pick up a good quarterback. Look at Lamar Jackson, for example. He went 32. Okay, yeah. He's had his vulnerabilities at times in terms of his passing. At times is a bit erratic, but still, you can see the qualities there. So you don't necessarily have to get a quarterback in the top 10. And I believe at the moment the Broncos are picking at 10. So be interested to see where they go from here.
It's fair to say, Brian, it's not just the Broncos that have quarterback travails at the moment. If you go back to our Sunday night show before the games went out last week, we're all questioning the viability of Baker Mayfield, for example, who has, again, been inconsistent. Sometimes he's had some great games, but he's been extremely inconsistent, especially this season. And we were starting to talk about, well, the Browns have got a decision to make here. So he rocks up in this must-win game against the Titans, 2-8-4 teams, steel on steel going against each other, and comes out with a half of the season from him. An unbelievable passing performance, potentially taking advantage of the Titans over-indexing on the run game and trying to stop Hunt and Chubb. But Baker was flinging it, making every play. And when he plays like that, you kind of go, well, clearly he deserved to be number 1 overall pick. Clearly he could be the future of the Cleveland Browns. And for the Browns fans out there, I've heard 2 different streams all season so far. One has been before last night's game, oh my God, we're 8-3 and our quarterback's playing so terribly. And the other one is, we're 8-3 and our quarterback's playing terribly, so we can get better. And it's kind of like, well, glass half full or glass half empty. So definitely half full after last night's games.
I enjoyed his interview where he basically was asked a question and he said, what's changed year on year? And he goes, well, I think now, would an idiot do this? And I don't do it. It sounds like me every day of the week, to be honest, boys. Talking about vulnerability at quarterback and just vulnerability in general, not myself, but the Jets, gentlemen. I said the Jets are going to win, and he's all laughing at me. And for a very brief second last night, it looked like the very good bet that many people had. Mayo and Jets double, the 2 greens was going to come up. I think it really asks the question, will the Jets ever win again? What was that ending? For the love of God. Have you ever seen anything like it in your life?
I think everybody has an opinion on this, and I'll let Colum go first.
I've said it on Greg Williams, and there's been talk on Twitter today that maybe it was a deliberate ploy. The Jets were seeking to go 0-16. No, it was Greg Williams being Greg Williams. And this is a man who only 3 years ago oversaw the Browns going 0-16 as he was defensive coordinator there. And a point about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield managed to win games with Greg Williams as the interim head coach, which tells you how good Baker Mayfield could potentially go on to be. But the interesting piece here is he's now been fired, right? At long last. This was a disaster in the making as soon as it happened. Adam Gase is the head coach at the Jets. Adam Gase is father-in-law is a man whose name is Joe Vitt. Joe Vitt and Greg Williams worked together at the Saints during Bountygate, and they were on opposite sides because Joe Vitt called Greg Williams a liar on several occasions. He called him narcissistic. He said that he called him nuts. And these two guys were expected to work together. Is it any wonder that the Jets are the most dysfunctional organization in the league? Anyone else would have held on to that. But Greg Williams is Greg Williams, and they needed a miracle, and we got a near Christmas miracle. But it when you have Henry Ruggs and you have that sort of speed and you have Greg Williams, it shouldn't come as a surprise.
It comes as a surprise that people don't think that play was orchestrated, because I looked at the tape today, and you've got 5 defensive players blitzing a quarterback. You've got a safety only 15 yards behind with 6 seconds to go. You know where the ball is going. Surely you're just packing up the end zone. There's even speculation that the Raiders were made aware. The Raiders were even made aware what the play was going to be from the Jets' perspective. So there is a lot of people out there that think they did throw that last play. And I can't understand why he would, because to be honest, he's getting sacked either way. You know, at the end of the season, it's going to be a clean house. Whether it's offense, defense, they're all going. So that, you know, their career in coaching is going to be somewhere else anyway. Maybe Greg Williams will turn up at the Raiders next year. Maybe he'll be offered a job on the back of him, giving them a game that could potentially get them into the playoffs. But I do.
Or a few slots in Vegas at least.
I do think that was orchestrated, that play. I really do.
Whoa. Let's just stop with the tinfoil hats and the conspiracy theories going on. If you really wanted to throw the game, when there was 1 minute and 48 seconds left, when the Raiders were knocking on the door, they very simply just had to mess up and let them in there. Instead, they got a pick and turned the ball around and left them with very little time on. If you're trying to throw the game, which that's a pretty serious charge, I mean, we're talking Chicago Black Sox here type of territory, then clearly you would let them score there, not try to leave it to some dramatic denouement. The reality of this is, I'm with Colum. This was a terrible call by Greg Williams to go for a zero blitz at the wrong time of the game, to leave an exposed cornerback, Lamar Jackson, not the Baltimore Ravens quarterback, I must just stress, to somehow bite on an in-cut fake on a double move deep. Why are you biting on an in-cut fake with mere seconds left on the clock? Ruggs walks it, Baker Mayfield delivers a great ball, and the Jets do what the Jets do. They're going 0-16. They're going to get the first pick of the draft, and Mr. Trevor Lawrence, I have a funny feeling, is thinking about Eli Manning and whether he really wants to play for the New York Jets.
Hold on. You're saying there about 0-16. I got to read out some comments as well here, lads, really quickly, but you're saying about 0-16. We all know who's going to beat the Patriots in Week 17. We all know what's going to happen. It's going to happen. It always does. Neil Dunworth. Neil, how's it going, man? You're saying go Browns. We'll forgive you for that, Neil. I'm only joking. You're saying since Week 7, Mayfield is rated third behind Mahomes and Watson in yards per attempt and quarterback rating. Hasn't thrown an interception in 5 games. I would take him in Denver. Playing cover 0 with a 7-man blitz is Greg Williams calling card. Loads of G's on the Greg. Keith Byrne, the Bills are dark horses this season. Keith, I like what you're saying, my friend. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl. Will the Steelers go unbeaten? He asks. Well, I guess have we got. We'll come into that in 2 seconds. We got one more game because we have to, because Mark's here, and I'd say at least half the audience are as well. Right, 40. Like Colum. Just for a start, we went to bed early last night, and I went to bed at 10 o'clock before the Broncos game. In that time period, we missed the Eagles getting trounced, the Patriots scoring 45 points to nothing, and the Giants beating the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe we should just sleep through every week, and maybe it might be more interesting.
Well, only one of us said that the Patriots going to win this week. One of us said that Justin Herbert had real issues because Eckler had come back and all of a sudden he looked all over the place, and so it proved. Look, I have watched this game for too long to think that the evil empire is just going to simply give up. Belichick is Belichick, and everyone keeps wanting to, count him out, and every single time he gets back up off the canvas. I mean, they basically, Vince McMahon looked at Belichick and said, "We'll base Undertaker off of this guy because he is the undead. You just cannot kill him, not with a silver bullet, not with a stake to the heart, not by transposing his tight end and his quarterback down to the retirement home that is Florida." They just keep going, and they beat up on the Chargers, and Anthony Lynn is going to be out of a job pretty soon. The Chargers they need to have an exorcism in their stadium, because I've never seen a team have so many injuries. But they have a franchise QB in Justin Herbert. Yes, he had a bad day at the office yesterday, a really bad day. They need to get back to him being aggressive and move away from what they have been doing in the past couple of weeks. They're not going to do anything this for the rest of this season, but Anthony Lynn is going to be out of a job. The Patriots, they'll Patriot their way into the playoffs, I reckon.
No, they will not. No, one and done. Brian,
they're not. I'll really come in on this, guys. I mean, I'll just sum it up really quickly. I couldn't believe it. Colum is right. He was the only one that picked the Patriots. But I'd like to offer in my defense in this regard. Bill Belichick often talks about do your job. Every time I go against and pick against the Patriots on this show, the Patriots win. So therefore, I've just got to do my job and continue that consistent theme, because clearly it's having an impact. Justin Herbert didn't have a great day at the office. Obviously, when you're shut out, it's never great. But it was all about special teams. I mean, Gunnar Olszewski, who was unlucky to have a touchdown written off last week against the Cards, ran a punt return back, ran another one back about 70 yards to celebrate field position. Cam Newton did very little. I mean, he threw for 69 yards. That's off the back of another game where he threw for 78 yards. I mean, as a Pats fan, I'm praying for a Baker Mayfield, to be honest with you, in due respect to the Browns, because it would be an uptick in terms of passing ability. But the running game was good. The defense was extremely solid. We had a field goal block for a touchdown as well. I'm dancing, guys. I'm just singing our theme tune, which is dun 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 dun, or the Undertaker's one note sound. Either way, I'll live with it.
I thought it was
it's a music show now, is it?
Anyway, Mark or Brian, I was going to bring us into your next conversation. Are we witnessing the culmination of something that's probably going to happen in the next 50 years? Is this getting closer to the point of the whole thing? Why are there two teams in LA? Are we going to see a merger very quickly, do you think?
No, I can't see. I don't think the two owners would ever come together and agree that. Look, yeah, well, potentially. I think the Chargers ideally would have liked to have got the Vegas slot when they were moving out of San Diego, but that wasn't to be. I don't see. Yeah, okay, there's one stadium there, both teams, but sure, that's not the first time we've seen that in the NFL. I'd be surprised if that was to take place. And just on the Anthony Lynn piece that Colum discussed, yeah, when you see NFL Network in early December reporting on head coach on the hot seat, you know what's happening. They said he's respected within the organization, but the likelihood is they will have to move on. Yeah, that means he's definitely moving on.
I really like Anthony
Lynn. Yeah, I was going to say I've been a big fan of Anthony Lynn the whole way through, but results speak volumes in the end. And actually, for any of our viewers that hadn't seen, we were talking about Greg Williams earlier. If you haven't seen the news, he has been fired already. So everyone will go by the end of the season, but Williams was fired this morning by the Jets as the defensive coordinator.
I think Anthony Lynn's situation was pretty much summed up in those last 20 seconds of the game last week in Buffalo, where they do a Hail Mary, they get to the 1 yard line, and then for the life of me, then they try to run it in when they've no timeouts left, instead of throwing for the end zone and potentially getting 2 to 3 players. It was bizarre play calling,
Let's move on to the games, because we got a game coming up in 35 minutes, lads, on Sky Sports. It's the Steelers, the unbeaten Pittsburgh Steelers, playing the Washington football team at 10 o'clock. There's Claypool. Will he play for Clay tonight? Who knows what's going to happen? Boys, let's just jump into this. Start with yourself, Colum. We've had this conversation for weeks now, but are the Steelers for real? Going by Kansas City last night, do they really need to go into the next gear at the minute? because they must have took that last night and laughed their heads off, surely.
But the Steelers haven't exactly been pulling up trees. They've done what they needed to do, absolutely. But and they are the unbeaten. They do hold the number 1 seed. But they're not the offensive juggernaut that, you know, has, I guess, kind of people. The way they talk about them, you expect them to really steamroll teams. Defensively, they've been incredible, right? They have 41 sacks. They've got over 100 quarterback hits. They have a sack in 68 straight games, but they lost Bud Dupree. That's definitely going to impact them. They've been very smart. Tomlin has been really smart in terms of what they've done with Big Ben, because he now gets the ball out. He gets it out really quick, which is a huge change for him. And it's really interesting to see a QB develop over the course of his career in the way he did. They're up against in terms of this Washington football team, you know, a team that probably kind of matches up them in some ways, but the Steelers will be good enough, you know, to get into the playoffs. They'll be good enough to be very competitive. But I think if I'm the Chiefs, I think the issue with the Chiefs is that they think that their only game will be against the Steelers this year. Complacency is the Chiefs' enemy. I think the Steelers are incredibly well prepared. I think they're well drilled. I think they're a well-oiled machine. But I think they're probably playing almost at maximum capacity, which has been very, very good. But when that comes to the playoffs, will it be good enough?
22 points against Denver. Just repeat that. That's maximum capacity. Oh, bring on this 10.
No. That's no. The Chiefs are in like second gear. The Chiefs.
Oh, you mean the Steelers?
I mean, the Steelers are operating at maximum capacity.
Give me some hope, Colum.
The Chiefs in the playoffs will be a different beast.
Give me some hope, yeah? Come on. Who have you got winning tonight? The game obviously kicks off in 32 minutes on Sky Sports NFL. We can't wait to watch it, Neil. Really excited. Who have you got winning, Colum?
The Steelers. I think the Steelers will win it. I think it could be an interesting game, because I've no doubt Washington will look to get at Big Ben, and as I said, like, losing one of your big pass rushers is definitely, you know, going to slow him. But Alex Smith has taken too many sacks. I think that the fairy tale, you know, is just won't be enough to carry them in this game. I've gone against them before and they've proved me wrong, but tonight I think the Steelers have too much.
Yeah, it's actually now the number 1 defense against the number 2 defense, albeit they haven't played this weekend because of the way the games have gone yesterday. But you look at the Steelers defense, and Colum alludes to it, the most interceptions this season. They have the most takeaways in terms of fumble recoveries. And Big Ben has been sacked in the last 4 games, so the Steelers' offensive line is holding up to their end of the bargain against another really good defense in which they're coming up against. But again, to the point, if you take Terry McLaurin out of the game from a wide receiver tray, he's taken 26% of the catches this year, which is quite a high number. And I can't see past the Steelers. And to answer the question that was sent in, do I see the Steelers going unbeaten? No, because I do think the Bills will need that win more than the Steelers next week.
Next week. What a game that is next week. I think we should go live for the whole game. That's going to be the FT Challenge game right there.
Probably give my picks away too early, but I think the Bills will win next week.
Oh. Look, he's jumping on the train, Brian. Mark, go on ahead, my friend.
He's trying to get his picks in a week early. Jesus Christ. Trying to be super efficient. And actually, even if the Steelers squeak by the Bills in weeks 16 and 17, they've got games against Indy and at the Browns, both of whom might need the wins for playoff contention, and Steelers might be looking to rest players. So going 16-0 might be a stretch, but I think we have to give full credit to the way in which the Steelers performed this year. They've won 6 games in which it was only a 1-score game. They've won the tight ones. They've been a complete football team in many respects because they can get the run game going with James Conner. Their defense has been complementary. They don't make silly mistakes on special teams. And Big Ben, as Colum was alluding to, has evolved. He now has the fastest pass release in the NFL in terms of average time from receiving the snap. Whereas in years gone by, of course, Big Ben was like this statuesque monolith trying to shake off defenders off his leg, like The Undertaker, I suppose. It's very WWE tonight, before trying to heave something 60 yards downfield. He's developing some great young receivers, like Claypool, for example, and bringing them on in a really neat fashion. Do I think they're so comprehensive that they will stop all comers before them? No. Do I think they're a complete team who can play complementary football to win games? Absolutely. The real metal and testing of them will come in the playoffs. Tonight shouldn't be a test, but do keep Ben upright. Do keep that quick release to stay away from Washington's fearsome pass rush. And that will be the keys to success. And I'm not going to say anything as dramatic as I said on Sunday, but I do not see Washington having sufficient firepower to threaten Ben.
And we need Washington beaten, guys. Don't forget that. Yeah?
Well, you're going to love this, my friend. You're going to love
Here we go.
I have been up a lot over the last. I watched college football at 4 o'clock on Sunday morning, and I'm really, when they say you're on fumes, I need a good night's sleep. That is why I can only justify watching this game tonight, gentlemen. Really, in this sense here, if I was Alex Smith, if I was Washington, the Washington football team, and I seen the fact that the Giants won last night, I'm going, Edna Krabappel, on The Simpsons. This is a massive game for the Washington football team because they are still very much alive. And in my opinion, I think they'll win the NFC East. So for me, if I'm Alex Smith, if I'm Antonio Gibson, why not? Why can't they beat the Steelers team? That Steelers team against the Ravens were, I don't want to say they weren't great. If Antonio Gibson can get over 100 yards, and if Terry McLaurin, I want to say McLaurin or McLaurin, can get 1 or 2 scores, why can't they beat the 11-0 Pittsburgh Steelers? It would be hilarious for a start because everybody in the States on the West Coast doesn't work and we'd see it and they wouldn't. And secondly, it would just make it more interesting because is anybody staying up for the game after it? Because I'm not. Let's go to bed going, that felt like... Look, seriously though, I think Washington could win this game. They've got the talent on their day. I like Ron Rivera. I don't trust the Steelers whatsoever. The Bills are going to win the AFC. So for me, the Washington football team are going to go 5-7 atop the NFC East.
If the Bills, Michael,
time out. I just need to come back to this. This line about the Bills winning the AFC and going to the Super Bowl and all these things. If I map out what the Bills' likely path is at the moment, just go with me. Just go with me. They would have to play likely the Browns in the wild card round, which isn't the worst matchup, but they are the Bills and they tend to like losing in wild cards.
Go to the division.
Then they would go away to the Chiefs and then away to the Steelers likely. And you think they're getting through all those 3 games when they haven't even won a playoff game in over 20 years.
Yeah, I do.
Man, that's
2020, baby. Why not? It's 2020. I think Mayo's going to win the All-Ireland. Sorry, Brian. And I think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. This is the year of the underdog, gentlemen. And that's why United are going to win the Premier League as well, lads. It's just, it has to happen. Why not? The Steelers have gone.
The same reason the Jets didn't win last night. The same reason the Broncos didn't win.
To be fair,
better teams are better teams.
Michael, you ever see that episode of Father Ted? Reality and dreams.
Yeah. I like to think as well when in the year that the Lakers win the NBA and the LA Dodgers win the World Series, etc. Fully agree with Michael. It's the year of the underdog. Yeah, definitely.
It is. It is the year of the underdog. I'm talking about proper football. The NBA, the Lakers should never have won that in a million years. And we're not going to talk about baseball in this show. It's for an Irish audience. They're not going to start talking about rounders. Like the NBA, the Nuggets should have got to the finals. Let's talk about that a different day. Different time. Chicken nuggets, thank you for that. Now, we are very close to kickoff, so let's get through this last game, gentlemen. The 49ers, I don't know where they're playing it anymore, but they play the Bills at 1:15 a.m. Gentlemen, what a game for the Bills. A chance for the Bills to go 9-3. Oof. Colum, what are you thinking? Oh, hold on. It's at the 49ers.
It's in Arizona. It's deemed to be
Yeah,
a
I
home
want to
game
thank.
for.
home game.
Can I just thank Google for this error? Because I thought it was in Buffalo. And you know what? Even better, they travel well.
Michael, you're forgiven. You've been up for 24 hours. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think this is a really interesting game because Kyle Shanahan is an excellent football coach when he's not in a Super Bowl, and he just tries to be the smartest man in the room at that point, and it backfires. And I mean, the 49ers' biggest issue is at quarterback. The fact that they, got to the Super Bowl on the Jimmy G tells you how good a coach Shanahan is. The fact that he's made Nick Mullins look like a solid backup. I mean, I don't think Mullins is starting QB, but he's done a reasonable job whenever he's had to come in for them. They have guys coming back. The Bills they are up when they're good, they can be really good. And when they're bad, I think you expect Shanahan to scheme. But for me, it comes down almost more to the ground game in some ways. I think Diggs probably has a bounce back game, and I think Allen will be okay. But can the Bills stop the 49ers on the ground? That's where it really comes down to. Last week they were good, or in their last outing, but as the season as a whole, not so good. They need their defense to take the step up if they're to move to the next level and become, as Michael, as you want them to be, serious contenders. But for me, I would have them as favorites for this, but against Kyle Shanahan, I could see him easily scheming a win for the 49ers here.
Yeah, Michael, if you want the Bills to go to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to get that defense sorted, because at the start of the season, when you look at the Bills, a lot of people kind of focus predominantly on the defense to be kind of more so than the offense, but it's the offense this year that's doing the business. 370 yards average per game. And the defense in the last two games, last week, gave up huge yardage and touchdowns to the Chargers. They had their bye week, so they had 2 weeks to recover from the game which Arizona scored over 30 points. So the defense isn't cutting it at the moment. The 49ers defense is cutting it. They're fourth highest in the league. So where do I see the game being won? I think the 49ers are going to win the game. I think their defense will hold Allen in check. And Colum alluded to it. The 49ers have got some players back in terms of running backs, and I think they'll be able to run the ball on that Bills defense and do enough just to win the game.
Rudyard Kipling's most famous poem is "If," and in that there's a great couplet which says, "If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same." To me, that's a bit of an encapsulation of what Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers have been putting up with the last 2 years. It was all well and good having them play great and everyone loving each other last year when they're on a roll to the Super Bowl. But this season has been tough sledding for them. They started the season as the runaway favorites to win their division. They've suffered injury after injury to key positions. George Kittle going down, Jimmy G going down, Mostert going down for a while. Key losses on defense. They traded DeForest Buckner, so they lost that depth that they had in place there. And yet you see the 49ers play hard, play together. They had some games where, yes, they lost 3 on the bounce, but it didn't look like a side that had given up on each other nor given up on its coach. And they strongly bounced back with that great win against the Rams, which, in fairness, a lot of us were kind of going, their season's going down the tubes, they're going to throw it away. They didn't. They banded together. I think that's a great sign for Kyle Shanahan's coaching. I think it's a great sign for 49ers fans and the 49ers team long-term in that regard. That also being said, the Bills are another team that this season has gone from strength to strength. Like, if you thought last season was a bit of a fluke, you're sorely mistaken. Sean McDermott has taken them on. has taken Josh Allen's development further on. And I keep waiting for him to turn into a pumpkin at midnight. But other than one aberration of a game, he's actually been performing very well. He looks like a real, I'm almost going Pinocchio. He looks like a real boy. He looks like a real functioning quarterback.
Oh dear.
Your record doesn't lie. The Bills are 8-3. They are the class act of the AFC East. They are clearly going to the playoffs. They are no way in God's green earth going to the Super Bowl, but they are a class team. I actually oscillate on this game, though, because I hear exactly what Colum is saying. The 49ers and Shanahan can cause difficulty, and that Bills defense is porous. So can the 49ers just control the line of scrimmage and control the game? On balance, I lean back in favor of the Bills because I think McDermott will be able to scheme a good defensive game when Nick Mullins isn't going to be as much of a threat in the air. But it's going to be tight in my mind. And yeah, just the Bills, but the 49ers deserve a lot of credit for this season. The Arizona 49ers, of course. Sorry.
The Arizona 49ers.
The Bills,
Thank
the Bills
you.
have to right some wrongs from the Hail Murray because it's the same stadium as the
Hail Murray.
Gravy played 2 weeks ago.
The Monday nights are with the Blessed Art Diamond coffee.
Michael, do you want one more stat? Sorry, you know how you love it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, the Bills have lost the last 4 games on a Monday night. 5 after tonight.
2020, man. The San Francisco, or whatever they're called these days, Arizona 49ers are like that hot girlfriend or boyfriend that you started going out with in January this year, and you're like, oh, Jimmy G, oh, Emmanuel Sanders, this is great. And then they're now your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're actually going steady, and now you realize there are flaws. I just don't see how the 49ers win. I mean, the 49ers beat the Rams last week. Where was I for that? Because I missed. Was that? Let me guess. Was that like one of those Monday night COVID games or something? Yeah.
It was 9:30 on the Sunday. You'd probably headed off your nap at that stage.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I can't believe I forgot about that. It's been a hard 24 hours, boys. Anyway, good result for them last week. They're not going to beat the Bills. Josh Allen's going to go for 270 yards. Cole Beasley is going to have 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary is going to lead the team or lead the game in rushing 120 yards. This will be an easy win for the Buffalo Bills. And that's why you shouldn't stay up to watch this game tonight. Only because this lovely man is not presenting. The Buffalo Bills are going to win by about 20 points, boys. And the Arizona Cardinals, no, it's not going to happen. Actually, fun fact, the 49ers will not win in Arizona. How's that? Do you like that? They're too busy having like takeout and just chilling without the wives and the girlfriends, I think.
Yeah, you see, I take it differently because it's so hot in there. They're going to rise like a phoenix from the flames. Right. Now, I know the Cardinals playing Glendale, not Phoenix, so don't at me with it. But still, it kind of works.
Before we go to the Tuesday game, and given that we are
hold on,
live,
there's a game on Tuesday.
There is indeed. Can we?
I think it's about we're not talking about them because we can't. Sorry, go on ahead, Colum.
No, the interesting thing about the 2020 season for me is that right now the rookie, and I'll say it right today, offensive player of the year is a wide receiver. It is a wide receiver. Justin Jefferson is unbelievable, and he is embarrassing Jerry Jeudy, Ruggs, and CeeDee Lamb. And he has seen what Dalvin Cook did in putting the team on his back, and he said, I want a bit of that because the Minnesota defense is non-existent. Their kicker, as the Vikings kickers always do, they go to pieces. But that kid is absolutely special, and he is worth keeping an eye on because he's making Kirk Cousins look good.
And it makes the Broncos look, I don't want to talk about this, is not the Broncos show, but Colum, it makes the Broncos look even worse when the guy Laviska Shenault, or can't pronounce his surname, from the Colorado Buffaloes, who got drafted by the Jags, is playing better than Jerry Jeudy. Let's just put that out there because we're not on the Broncos show, but he is.
Well, that's not. I don't know if that's Judy's fault.
Can I also say though, who therefore, Colum, is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? the answer to that question is Justin Herbert, unfortunately, because they don't recognize wide receivers and running backs in the way they should for any of the major NFL awards. But I'm with you. Justin Jefferson has been a revelation. He's been playing lights out. If you call that Vikings game where they ended up having to stretch it in overtime to ultimately beat the Jags, he pulled out some amazing catches and was giving the defense fits all night long. And it's a good Jaguars defense, particularly in the secondary. So, yeah, I'm with you. Fantastic play from him. And worth calling out, as we didn't earlier, Michael, just to say the Lions, apparently firing Matt Patricia was a good idea because they won a game again. So
Didn't I call that?
Bears, but still they won.
I called that.
The Bear, I think that's one that the Bears gave away more.
And hold on. We've been 47 minutes while saying this. My lock of the week came in again. 4-1, boys. Lock of the weeks.
You're very fortunate with your lock. If you saw the drive at the end where the Texans had the opportunity to go in and win the game, they fumbled. You see JJ Watt's reaction. He just went, "I can't believe this place."
Here, that's because we've only got 10 minutes. This game kicks off. Let's really quickly look at the big game as I drop my bottle cap on Tuesday night. The 3-8 America's team, Super Bowl champion. Super Bowl champion 2020 Dallas Cowboys, ladies and gentlemen, playing the Baltimore Ravens. Lads, look at that. Who actually took the time to make that? Look at that. Will that ever happen?
No,
it's never going to happen.
Not in my lifetime.
Yeah, RB a better quarterback
than
whoever's.
Well, it won't because of Jerry Jones. That's the biggest albatross around that Cowboys team's neck. And I mean, this is the week where the Ravens get back on track. They really couldn't have asked for outside of the Jets. They couldn't have asked for a nicer game to get back in. It's just not working for the Cowboys. Zeke, he can't hold the spoon to feed himself at the moment without dropping it. So I would expect the Ravens to get back on track here after a couple of weeks where it really hasn't worked for them. It sounds like Jackson will be back in, and I think we have the other thing that we will talk to Brian and Mark and you, but I think we need to talk about the trouble in Philadelphia after this, because it's definitely not always sunny there at the moment. But interested to hear Brian and Mark about a Tuesday night's game.
In the last hour, it's actually been confirmed that Jackson is cleared to play, so that is good news.
I'm delighted that he's been cleared to play and that they've also been given the right time for that as well. That's great news.
Okay, great. The Ravens defense played reasonably well last week, despite all the players that were out. They really are. They still are a good defense, and I think we're getting away from how strong they were, because at the start of the season, a lot of people would have thought they were the team that was going to challenge the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl out of that division. As it turns out, it's the Steelers at the moment. Dalton tomorrow is, well, not Dalton as such, but the offensive line for the Cowboys will be the eight different lineup that they've had this season. They haven't had any consistency with the offensive line, which is over the years has been very good. So I can't see how Dalton is going to be able to have a game like he did 2 weeks ago when they went away to Minnesota and put up a lot of points on that Vikings defense. I think the Ravens will bounce back tomorrow and win this game, and I think they'll win it well.
Yeah, I mean, the Cowboys have effectively had 2 weeks off since Thanksgiving, and they wanted to forget Thanksgiving and pretend that no game actually took place that day when they got beaten 41-16 by the Washington football team. I know Michael's asking, can the D-line of the Redskins / Washington football team trouble Big Ben tonight? And they can, but Big Ben has the quicker release. Andy Dalton and that Cowboys offensive line was like a sieve, and they won't have that flexibility against the Steelers tonight. Zach Martin, I think, as Brian's alluded to, is out with the calf for the rest of the year, likely, and that's a real problem for the Cowboys of getting anything going. The Ravens, however, to me, are really where the story's at. They're 6-5. If they don't win tonight, they're 2 games out of the 7th wildcard slot. Even if they win tonight, them and the
They'll not win
Ravens.
tonight, mate. They'll definitely not win tonight. I can bet any money on that. I'm so sorry I had to say it this morning.
Sorry, good point. They win Tuesday night. See, I'm so thrown by it, Michael. This is only the 3rd time I have a Tuesday night game in the Super Bowl era. Last week was only the 2nd time we had a Wednesday night game in the Super Bowl era. I mean, I'm just all over the place, man. What can I say? So
well, it's great though, Mark, because they're actually moving the games when they have to be moved as well, aren't they? It's good with the NFL.
I sense there's a bit of built-up angst there, Michael. I don't know. We hear it every week. I don't know why. But the reality is, the Ravens need this game. They really, really do. There is no chance of them turning up and throwing another clunker into the mix. And like I say, even if they win, there's still a game out of the wildcard spots. So Lamar running right in the playoffs and maybe righting the wrongs of last season is even further removed if they in some way slip up to the Cowboys tonight. But I can't see it. Whilst Brian's Giants stand proudly at the top of the NFC least, unfortunately, the other 3 teams in it are very poor. And I should have alluded earlier when Brian said the Giants run a 4-game winning streak. They are. But only 1 game is counted because you can't really count wins against the rest of the NFC East, can you?
We've got like 2 minutes, so I want to really quickly. The Ravens are going to win for me. It's not even a matchup, lads, to be honest. How dare the NFL not put that game on at 3:00 Eastern? How dare the NFL not allow me to watch this at the same time as the Champions League? Come on. Think of the little guy. Do you know what I mean? Over in Europe. No market whatsoever. Lamar Jackson will come back in. He'll ball out. 25 points, at least. Seriously, I think it could be a cricket score, boys. And I say this like once a week, but that would be my midweek lock of the week. Not that anybody needs it. Everybody knows they're going to win, like in that sense. So really quickly there, what result shocked you guys this weekend? All right, lads, 1 or 2 word answers. Colum, start you first. Don't say Giants.
Well, forget the result. Is what I said earlier. It is the $35 million backup who now sits on the bench in Philadelphia. And what are the Eagles going to do about Carson Wentz? That is a huge issue for them. They cannot escape from that contract. If Jalen Hurts is the answer, the question is wrong because he's not. To me that's the big one, because the fact that they pulled him tells you that they know it's an issue, but they can't solve it. They cannot solve it. They locked themselves in. They made him the 8th highest paid quarterback in the league. And that, I think, is the biggest question that potentially this offseason is, what do the Eagles do?
They're better off sticking with him, Colum, in my opinion.
You
might like that. Yes,
Daniel Jones. Like, come on.
Daniel's coming back this weekend. Daniel will be back at the weekend.
Then
my shock.
Strike that off as a loss, mate. If Daniel Jones is coming back this weekend, you strike that off.
Once we have that defense, we'll be okay. My shock, and it's not going to be the Giants actually, because I wasn't shocked. It's actually the Browns. For me, I actually I called that game a blowout. I know Mark kind of joked last night around, this game was called as a blowout. Yeah, it was. I thought the Titans would run away with it. I thought Derrick Henry would run all over that Browns defense. Completely different game. And it was, the Titans came back a bit. They were always chasing. And it's the Browns for me. It's a great win. It's probably one of the biggest wins they've had in years.
Yeah, for me, guys, it's no contest. I mean, if I thought Jesus Christ was playing quarterback, I have to stand by the fact that, or wouldn't have made a difference playing quarterback. The Giants being the Seahawks was absolutely the shock of the week for me. I lost a couple of accumulators, unfortunately, with that going the wrong way. And look, the Giants are on course now. I think 6-10 can still win that division. We've only, outside of the strike season, only had 2 teams that have ever made the playoffs with a losing record: the 7-9 Seahawks in 2010 under Pete Carroll, and the 7-8-1 Carolina Panthers, who were actually 3-8-1 and then went on a 4-game winning streak to take the NFC South. I think in 2014 it was. So we're not quite at the depths of depravity, but if they go 6-10 and win the division, or any team goes 6-10 and wins that division, it is technically the worst team to ever make the playoffs. Just leaving that one out there. But they'll have a home playoff game, so yay.
There's Michael's comment. The last time a team made the playoffs with a losing record, 7-9 Seahawks. They won a playoff game. Smiley face. Michael, thanks very much for coming on, mate. Mihal,
they beat the Saints with the earthquake touchdown.
He's lovely.
My shock make it since then, but that's being really particular. Sorry.
It's fine, don't worry. It's grand. Sorry, boys, I'm getting tired now. It's this next segment is brought to you by L'Oreal Men Expert Daily Moisturizer, which makes it look like I don't watch Sunday Night Football. My shock of the week, and I'm not trying to be biased because of I'm not trying to be biased at all. The Super Bowl champions were playing probably the worst Denver Broncos team in about 10 years, and only put up 22 points in prime time, and nobody's talking about it because the Chiefs got a win. And sure, it's a win. Win's a win. No, it's not. They looked bloody awful at some points last night. If it wasn't for Travis Kelce, me and Colum wouldn't be here because we'd be partying somewhere in Dublin right now on our €9 pint meal for 1 hour 45 minutes. Lads, seriously.
The worst Broncos team in 10 years. Did you miss the Vance Joseph years?
All right. Well, there is an argument, Colin, that this is a continuation of that, albeit with a different coach. But this is what I love being 57 minutes in, and I know Broncos fans aren't watching this now. It's one of the worst Broncos teams in the history. You said it in the last schedule. They're the first team, the Broncos team, 5 years out of the playoffs.
If the Broncos don't make the playoffs, they will be the first team to ever win a Super Bowl and not make the playoffs for 5 straight years afterwards. There's
and there's a graphic for that, boys. It's not this one. It's this one. 5 straight years. And look, lads, let's be honest. That's my shock of the week. I think it's incredible, the fact that nobody's talking about it. And fair play to Mr. Elway for going out on that defense. But that's all we have time for, boys, because we're about to go and watch the 11-0 Pittsburgh Steelers play the Washington football team. 4-7, I think they are. So second in the NFC least, as Mark described it. But lads, it's been a pleasure having you on. Join us this Thursday and this Sunday. We've got the TNF Club on Thursday. We've got the Irish NFL show on Sunday. Join us. That's right. We made a graphic. It's almost holding up and pixelated. Lads, pleasure to be joining me. Thanks to everybody that's came in and made comments. Mark, Brian, Colum. I'll see you on Thursday night, yeah?
See you then.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks,
guys. Take care.
See you later, boys. Have a good night.